my phone. Red, you're the subject matter expert, right?
Hey guys, tonight on WTF Nation Radio, we'll recap our trip to War Horses for Veterans. We got some good stories to tell. I've got a funny video to share with you from that trip. Also, we'll have tonight's guest on. Retired Colonel Robert Maness is going to join us in the second hour of the show, and in the third hour, Party Games. The return of Party Games. It's all starting right now on Friday Night Freedom on WTF Nation Radio. What's up, everybody? We have, we're back, but we're back. I'm back. I can't shit bag out of a Friday night show, so here I am. Welcome to Friday Night Freedom on WTF Nation Radio. I'm Redleg, and I got some sun. I'm joined tonight by my special guest co-host tonight. It's Minx, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, and of course Flash is here. He's gonna sit. I guess he's riding in the back if Minx is riding shotgun, and Mom's here also.
Hey y'all.
I'm just enjoying this beverage and looking forward to another great show.
Oh, I appreciate your expectations of a great show. I'm gonna see what I can do for that.
Right? Thanks a lot, Flash.
I hold high standards for you.
Oh, good. Yeah, we have returned from Kansas, where we spent the weekend with the wonderful people from War Horses for Veterans. I don't have anything bad to say about the trip. Well, that's not entirely true. I do have one bad thing.
What?
That
What's
piece
that?
of shit airport in Kansas City.
Dude,
It was
seriously,
interesting.
fuck that place.
The place sucks.
I'm surprised you had an airport in Kansas.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Right?
Well, I think the airport that we landed at was actually in Missouri, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, it was. It was.
But it sucked. Up until this past weekend, the crappiest airport I'd ever flown in or out of has been Memphis International, but it has been surpassed by Kansas City. What
Memphis
a dump!
has an airport?
Yeah, Memphis has an airport. I mean, it
Oh.
sucks, but
Learn
no
something new
longer.
every day.
It's no longer the worst airport I've ever been through in the United States of America.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now that honor goes to Kansas City. So you got that going for you, Kansas City.
Woo!
The rest of the trip, awesome. I'm trying to find the right adjective. It was great.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. I think I said this a couple of times during our weekend at War Horses for Veterans, which, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is that the whole thing takes place, the actual horse stuff takes place at someone's home.
Mm-hmm.
And they welcomed us into their home, Andy and Pat Brown. And we just I felt so at ease and comfortable in somebody else's home, where usually you'd feel kind of maybe weird and awkward. I didn't feel that way.
It was like you're visiting family for the weekend.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I immediately felt at ease. And Patrick and his wife, Mindy, Patrick's the CEO of War Horses for Veterans. Very, very nice people. Patrick is an expert horseman. Taught me more in a weekend than I thought I could ever learn about horses and horsemanship. I'm ready to go back.
Right? I really want to.
So the program, the War Horses for Veterans program, it's a weekend. You go out there for a weekend, 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's open to any combat veteran All you have to do is go to their website, warhorsesforveterans.org or .com, and fill out the online application, and then they'll get back in touch with you. Listen to me. If you're looking for a rewarding, relaxing, interesting, educational experience in an atmosphere where you can feel safe and comfortable and at ease, that is the place for you. So I would encourage anybody who's a combat veteran to go fill out the application and go out there. And if you're not a combat veteran, but you feel like that you would want to support this program and the men and women who go through it, you can also go over there and donate. I donated some already back. But what's the catch? Well, there's no catch. Once they get back to you and give you a date for the program, they cover your airfare. You're put up in a baller-ass hotel.
Right?
The Doubletree in Overland Park. And that hotel's amazing. And the interesting thing is, all those rooms are given free of charge by the Doubletree to the people that are going through the War Horses for Veterans program. So the hotel's in on it. And Pilt wants to know if I got sunburn on my head because I'm not as shiny. No, I actually got a little hair growing up there. I haven't had a haircut in over a week.
Can't tell.
Although your forehead is looking remarkably tan now.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
Kind of like an orange.
Like a fucking
What?
orange?
I didn't say that.
Okay, all right. We'll circle back around to that, Flash. My orange head. You got a Trump head going on.
Kind of a hairy orange. Something like that.
So Friday, of course, we did the show from Pat's office.
Yeah.
Which is out there at the farm, the ranch.
That Benji was sleeping in.
Yeah. So we took over Miss Pat's office. She is the sweetest, kindest.
Oh my God, I love her.
Right? Just welcomed us into her home. So we took over her office, and for 2 nights we did live broadcasts from there, Friday and Saturday night. Friday was kind of a get to know everybody, settle in type of thing. We did go down to the barn, and I don't play with scratch the horses' whiskers. Try not to get bit by the horses. That's what we did. We tried to avoid any horse bite. Well, Bobby, yeah. And then back to the hotel, rest up. Bobby went to the bar, as young fellows are known to do. Saturday, all day Saturday was with the horses. We started out in the barn, grooming the horses. Right there, that first little bit, I learned a bunch. Like, how do you make 1,000-pound animal lift its hoof up so you can do what you got to do? I learned that. I never knew that. Front hoof and back hoof to clean them, and all the different brushes we had to groom them with. So, oh my!
And that vibrator.
And the vibrating big TheraPlate thing that we all got on, that just kind of vibrated all the stress right out of my legs, and that thing felt good. We have a group photo of all of us
on a vibrator.
On the vibrator.
Wow, that's interesting.
It was a good time. It really was.
So we took out first. We took out Argento and Rifle, right? The 2 horses.
Yeah.
And so Rifle's kind of. I thought Rifle at first was going to be like a little wild and fidgety. It's amazing to see the transformation in those horses when you get them in their element. Argento was the one that bit Bobby.
On his nipple. Or no. Rifle bit his nipple, right?
Yeah, but Argento bit Bobby on the arm and left a mark. Yeah. And I've never been bitten by a horse, luckily. Bobby has. We'll have to let Bobby explain to all of you. And then Bobby almost got his dick bitten, too.
By Summer.
By Summer.
My favorite, Summer.
But, so Bobby, I don't know, Bobby must taste good to horses because he got bit on the nipple, he got bit on the arm, and he almost got his dick bitten off. So then we go up to, and I learned a lot of terminology too. Now I feel like cool horse guy. So we take him up to the round pen to warm him up, and you stand in the middle of this pen with this 1,000-pound animal, and you got a whip. And no, you don't hit the horse with the fucking whip because somebody's gonna assume that.
Right?
PETA.
How dare you?
The whip's to get their attention, but you essentially use your body language and you can make this horse do stuff. You're standing on the ground. The horse doesn't have a saddle on. He's just in there like, let's do this. So that was cool. Minx was a natural at it. And believe it or not, everybody, Pie
Oh my gosh,
in the
he
round
did so
pen
good.
was like a fucking an expert with the thing, with the whip. I did all right, I guess. The horse was like, oh, look at this dickhead.
Me,
Minx I
on the
can
other
get.
hand.
Yeah, Mom didn't do very well. The
Minx
horses
I can get. Pie, not so much.
Yeah, Pie was good.
I did good. He did great. Mom, at first, her lack of, I don't know, confidence and just determination to do it to impose her will upon the horse. It was comical. Is really the only word for it. I love you, Mom.
It was like a light
But it
bulb went
was.
off. It's like, oh, I get it now.
Right,
Yeah, it's
you
like-
got to
it's
steer
like-
the horse from behind. I learned that. Like if you get in front of the horse, he turns around and goes the other way.
Yeah, from the ass.
Yeah. It's like a triangle, remember?
Yeah, you got to drive him from the back. I guess.
Yeah.
So Patrick taught us that. In a relatively short amount of time, we were all not all of us. Some of us didn't get in the round pen. Some of us were scared of horses being trampled to death, I think. So in the round pen, warmed them up, and I think later in the day when you got Dick Biter, Summer in there, Patrick said, let's try to run about 100 pounds off of him because he's kind of
Yeah,
chubby.
no, he was kind of a thickums.
He's pudgy.
Yeah.
And you had him sweating in the round pen. He's not used to all
He
that
did.
physical exertion.
He wasn't. He was not happy with me, but
So
oh my God, I loved riding him.
then we saddle up a horse or two. Who'd we saddle? Rifle and
Rifle, Wild Wind, and then I saddled up and rode Summer.
right. So Rifle, I got to ride. First in the round pen because you don't want to just turn some newbie loose in an open area on a fucking horse that he really doesn't know much about. So I didn't feel uncomfortable or intimidated, believe it or not. I hopped up there and I was like, all right, Rifle, let's do this. And Rifle said, okay. So we walked, and then we what's after that?
Trot.
And
then canter.
Yeah, we trotted, then we cantered, then we galloped. And I learned how to keep from falling out of the saddle because I almost did that once. You just gotta kind of push your foot down in the stirrup, and it pushes you back up on the saddle. So that was fun, and I really had him going in there. And Patrick told me how to put my foot to make him haul ass around the round pen, which was awesome. To have this horse respond to you that way. By the way, they know what their job is. These horses. They're very responsive.
Wild Wind.
Yeah, Wild One kind of just wanted to go back to the pasture.
Well,
after
he
a
was
Yeah.
old.
Yeah, he's
he
old
was
as fuck.
24 years old, and he has arthritis, and he's just kind of like, all right, I'm done.
All right, fuck this.
Yeah. So everybody got an opportunity to ride, and I think everybody did ride, including Mrs. Redleg. By the way, Mrs. Redleg finally got to go on a radio trip with me. And she was riding the horse, and it kind of trotted with her up there, and that was a lot of fun for me. Boobs.
You would.
Yeah.
That's
He doesn't like to see that. And then I took Wild Wind, the horse with blue eyes,
Yes.
very, very striking blue eyes this horse has, out into the big arena and rode. Just kind of cruised around. And he, I got him to gallop. I didn't want to fucking pull a J-Ready and Pie and race, and the goddamn horse get away from me. Which we have video of a lot of stuff that we still have to put together. I promise I'm going to get something put together for you guys to watch. But I guess of the videos, probably the funniest one
Is Bobby.
Okay, so Mandime Benji, how did this whole thing get started with Bobby?
I think it was Friday night. Yeah, our Friday night show.
It was a bet.
It was a bet about one Pi wanted to do the whole hi ho silver, like, away.
And he never
type
did.
Thing. He never did.
Right.
But that's okay. Next time. But yeah, this Bobby video started off as a bet, and pretty much Bobby was saying, like, yeah, I'll let you rope me. But he said from a horse on the show, and he was like, if we get one thumb up, I'll do it. And meanwhile, me and Pi are in the room, like, hitting the like button like a fucking madman, just like.
Yes.
And then he's like, okay, if I get a heart, I'll do it. And so, okay, me and Pi are back there like, heart. And then he's like, okay,
then
now
a
the
sad
sad
face.
face. And sure as shit, we did that. And so he was like, well, guess I have to.
So Bobby readily volunteered to be lassoed, and
He would.
I thought, I was under the impression that we were going to get, Mandai and Benji on a horse and Bobby running and
Right? That's what I thought.
and him getting healed. Turns out that didn't happen. I think probably it's a good thing, like, safety concerns. Because what if
Maybe.
Bobby's a big kid, but what if he'd been trampled by the horse? The horse is way bigger than him. So, in the interest of safety and I guess intelligence, it was all done with everybody just on a foot. So, so Bobby takes off running, and Patrick's on one side, Benji's on the other side. Patrick gets him around the waist, and Benji heals him, and down he goes. Let me play the video for everybody. So, and I shot it in slow motion too. So Patrick
Because it's always better.
is in the background. Benji's in the foreground, Bobby's in the middle, and Patrick gets him around the waist, and you can see Patrick like doing the whole horseman. Look, he's expertly handling the rope, and Benji heals him. Bobby goes down hard enough that it knocks the wind out of him, and he starts gasping for breath. And I said, "Oh shit, we fucking broke Bobby, like we killed Bobby." But he got his wind back. And look at Patrick, the shame. He's got his back turned to him because he's ashamed of what he did. And there's Tarun with the good camera, with the best angle of the whole thing. But the poor Bobby. But first Bobby gets his nipple bitten by a horse. Then he gets his arm bitten by a horse, and then he almost gets his dick bitten off by a horse. And then this rough day for the. For our social media kid, but Bobby's a
Maybe
good sport.
horses don't like him.
Maybe you might be right, Flash. Maybe Bobby and horses just don't mix.
I don't know.
Not a
Argento
good
was
combination.
loving on him.
Yeah,
Argento loved him.
after Argento bit his arm, they became fast friends, and it was almost like, a kid and his dog. The way that they were cuddling up together. What? Right? And he's scratching his ears, and he's scratching under his chin, and Argento stopped trying to bite him. It was great. So Bobby bonded with Argento. It was beautiful. Mandai and Benji just fucking nailed it. Bobby stepped right into that trap.
The way Bobby said it, he was like, yeah, I was running, and then all of a sudden my feet weren't working, and then down I go.
That shit was so funny. I looked forward to that the
thud.
entire day. Yeah. Oh, he hit the ground hard, man.
Oh, he did.
All the wind came out of him.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I thought we killed him. There was a split second where I was like, there's no way they're ever going to ask us to come back out here again. Because of what we did to Bobby.
I even got out of that awesome hot tub to watch this.
Yeah.
Right? What was I
Poor
doing
Bobby.
at that point? I think I was in the round pen with Summer when this happened.
You were warming Summer up. Summer,
Yeah.
the dick biter.
Summer was awesome.
So Minx, when you got Summer out of
Yeah.
the pasture and into the round pen, his attitude changed, right?
Oh, completely.
Like it's time to work.
Like brushing him and everything, he was doing fine. But then when I went to like clean his hooves and whatnot, when I got to his right front hoof, I apparently I fucked up and that I didn't tell him to stop, because he kept trying to lay down, like as I'm supporting part of his weight he's like trying to lay down on me, and I'm like, this is not gonna work.
Right, you're not supposed to do that, horse.
Yeah, this is not good. But no, once I got him in the round pen and everything, he was a lot of fun to work with. Yeah, he's got a bit of a sassiness to him. No, like he does. But I think it's because like he still views himself as a stallion, even though he's not anymore. So he still has a little bit of like stallion attitude,
He's still got a little bit of asshole in him.
Yeah. And so like, trying to change directions with him or get him to go faster, like he'd like toss his head or he'd buck towards me, and I'm like, no.
Fucking horses, man. They all have different they all have unique personalities, which I thought was interesting. And you can, as you spend more and more time with them, you see these personalities come out. Before this trip to War Horses for Veterans, I had I'd ridden a horse once as an adult, and so I didn't have a whole lot of opportunity to observe a horse before. But after spending the weekend there at the farm, I started noticing things about these horses and how they all have different traits, characteristics about them. It was interesting. And I got to tell you, man, just being out there and being with those horses it's soothing. It's relaxing.
So much. So.
Because the horses understand their role. They understand the role that they play in this organization and to the veterans of the United States military. And I think that, and I may just be full of shit, but I think they truly understand how important they are. So they take their roles seriously, and I'm ready to go back. I was thinking today when I was in the shower, because this is when I do a lot of my thinking. If Patrick was to call me right now and say, Redleg, I want you to come, all right, I'm going to pay you $50,000 a year salary. I want you to come work for War Horses for Veterans.
Oh my God!
I want you to do multimedia and help out with the horses, and go pick people over in the airport and take people to the hotel and do some publicity and stuff like that. Dude, I would take whatever is in here that would fit in the trunk of my Camaro, and I would leave right now.
Right.
And I would move my ass to Kansas just to be able to go out there every day and be a part of that.
I think I was telling Cuffs and someone else, but if I could get it like a crappy old like fifth wheel or whatever and like just put it out, by the barn and like just live there, fuck yeah, I would. Like, I didn't want to come home.
No, I didn't either. That weekend went by way too fast. So, if you guys missed it, any of the broadcasts that we did, the live videos from out around the farm, and then our two live broadcasts Friday night, Saturday night, it was Pie, Mom, Bobby, J. Reddy, Makes, Cause, myself, and Mrs. Redleg. And I gotta tell you, man, Andy Brown is the guy. He and his wife Pat own the horses. They own the house. They own the farm. They fund this program out of their pockets. And with what donations they get, which is, I think, is why it's so important for everybody to go show them a little love. You could donate on their website, and there's also a Facebook donation campaign set up. Oh shit, excuse me, which is where I donated. But so Andy, I had an opportunity to sit and talk to him, and I sat and talked to this guy for about 2 hours one evening while everybody else was doing other things, and it was just Andy and myself. And he was telling me about himself and how he came to find himself involved in this. And I said, Andy, I just asked him outright. I said, Andy, you never served in the military, neither did your wife. Why are you doing this? Why are you devoting so much of your time, resources, and your own money to a program like this? And he looked at me and he said, I just love the the men and women who've fought for this country. He said, I have a lot of respect for you, and this is the way that I choose to use my money to give back to the veteran community. And I didn't know how to respond to that. And he's genuine and he's sincere, and his wife is a saint. And I could not. It took me a while to understand where they were coming from and why they do this, but they're genuine. There's no catch.
Mm-mm.
And Patrick is involved for the same reasons. And Patrick, he himself is a combat infantry veteran. He fought in Fallujah, and this is his way to maintain his ties with the Brotherhood and give something back. And everybody that's involved in that program, Gary's a Vietnam veteran. He flew helicopters in combat in Vietnam. Gary picked us up at the airport.
Fun to talk to.
Gary's a lot of fun to talk to. Jesse's their social media guy. Jesse's a good dude. I got to talk to an old school former Navy SEAL, John Hammond. These guys, these people they want to give back to their community. And so they do. Dr. and Mrs. Benson, Patrick's parents, have got that house on the lake.
Oh my gosh.
They're
gorgeous.
just like, come to our house, have brunch. We went and got on the pontoon and cruised around on the lake.
We found our new headquarters.
Yeah, the castle.
For the low, it is total fixer upper, right? It's absolutely ginormous, and for the low price of $7.2 million, it's ours. So yeah, we're gonna have to fundraise.
I know. I probably sound like I'm fawning, and maybe I am in a way. I'm fawning over these people, but I kept waiting.
I think it's okay when it's a great organization.
I kept waiting for the catch. You know what I mean? Like there's something I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to. Donate a limb or come up with a bunch of money or sign some kind of contract. No, there's no catch. And we had some listeners come out and hang out with us too. The Katies came out. Bob Dole, fucking throwback from way back. Bob Dole,
right?
Fuckstick. We had some listeners come out and visit, and they welcomed them the same way they welcomed everybody else out there to the farm. The Andy and Pat Brown did. Unbelievable. So everybody, if you are a combat veteran and you'd like to participate in this program, warhorsesforveterans.com or warhorsesforveterans.org. Fill out the application. That's it, man. They take care of you. They feed you. Oh, my God, Jack Stack.
Oh, so
those
good.
beans.
Them beans.
Mom about had to go change her goddamn panties and pants after eating those fucking beans. She about lost her mind.
Mom said earlier today. Them beans.
Them beans.
Oh my God. You want something else to eat? I'll have some more of them beans.
I know, they were gone though. I went up for seconds and I specifically went up for more beans and they were gone. And
because Mom had been into the beans.
I got so upset.
I
got almost brokenhearted. I was like, but the beans.
There's no more of them beans left. And then and my favorite was the burgers.
Oh yeah.
Those burgers were great.
Freddy's.
The guy that owns Freddy's is a World War II veteran. And a lot of the money he makes goes back into veteran causes. And that was a good burger. Freddy's steak burgers.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Cheesy corn bake. Cause like the cheesy corn.
The cheesy corn.
Apparently you can get the cheesy corn bake at Sam's.
At Sam's Club.
True
story. Jay Reddy will be happy. He can run down to Sam's Club and get some cheesy corn bake. I didn't have any of that stuff. Was it good?
I personally did not enjoy the cheesy corn. But that's me.
I mean, it doesn't sound like something that's for everybody. You know what I mean?
No.
You gotta, you really gotta be into corn and and cheese together.
I am not.
But it was there, and there were people who enjoyed it, and I just ate ribs. I had a pile of ribs and a scoop of them beans on my.
Oh, the ribs are so good too. Like they literally just fell off the bone into your mouth and is the foodgasm.
That was great. And then the chicken was good too. They fed us
the
fucking,
rolls.
Yes.
they feed you like every time you turn around, you're running into food out there. I mean, I'm not complaining. The hot tub, oh, so much hot tub time. The hot tub.
I think that saved our backs.
The hot tub that spills over into a big swimming pool.
Right? It's salt water.
Yeah, and then you have the pool house where you can go in and like try to not make a mess so Miss Pat doesn't yell at you.
Right.
McNasty says he didn't like Freddy's. Dude, that was a fantastic hamburger. You probably like McDonald's, don't you, McNasty? That's disgusting.
Oh, boss, if you like their hamburgers, their ice cream, oh my God.
Oh, their custard is amazing.
Freddy's frozen custard.
Mm.
Those burgers are good. I hope they open a branch here, a franchise location. Yeah, so we ate. They feed you. The hotel, the breakfast, you just go down there and you sign for it. There's a dude making eggs and omelets to order. And of course, they got fruit and yogurt and cereal, standard breakfast fare, oatmeal, bacon. I had 2 big piles of bacon. But the whole weekend is about relaxing and like I felt no stress. Like usually when we go on the road, you remember Minx when we went to fucking what's that god awful place we went to?
We were in Mesa,
Arizona. Like I was stressed out the whole fucking time. Yeah, right, Flash. Ugh.
Yes, you were stressed. Well, and your allergies were kicking your ass because the fucking yellow trees were blooming and everyone's allergic to those goddamn trees.
So that sucked. And then when we were in Denver, everything was so fast-paced and, the plans changed so much and we were all freaking out and stressing out. I was like, ugh. This trip, I felt none of the stress. And, oh, my God, listen to me. At the end of every day, when you go back to the hotel, you take a shower and you get in your bed.
Oh, it's so
lights
nice.
out instantly. Never, ever have I fallen asleep that quickly after the end of just a day. You know, if I've been up for 3 days and I lie down, it's a different story.
Yeah. Cubs asked me if I changed my mind about KC barbecue over Texas barbecue. Oh, it's tough. It's so tough.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Stacks is good.
It's good, but I don't know. Like,
I mean, there's Memphis barbecue.
Oh, Memphis barbecue. Listen, when you guys finally do come to Memphis and we go to Rendezvous, that'll turn you into a believer right there.
God damn it.
Okay.
So much good barbecue.
Well, hey, make sure you listeners out there show some love to War Horses for Veterans. They have a Facebook page, so make sure you go there and like that. Mm-hmm. They also have a Twitter page at WH4Vets. They're awesome, and they're very responsive. So go ahead and you can make sure you follow them on there and show them some love.
Yeah, it's Jesse.
They are pretty awesome.
Jesse's on top of it, man. So
he is. We've become besties now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jesse's a good dude, man. You might want to share some of your secrets with Jesse, Flash. He's
Ooh.
Yeah, you guys can share some secrets back and forth.
Oh.
Not those kinds of secrets, you weirdos.
like pajamas and like stuffed animals secrets, like sleepover secrets, or
ladies, would you like to expand a little bit on exactly who Mandime Benji is and his physical appearance, because that seemed to be a topic of conversation. I heard you guys talking about him. Don't think for a second that I didn't hear you. Sorry.
I don't know. His eyes were captivating.
Yes.
They were like this golden hazel color. I don't know. That's in all the guys were jealous of his fucking ability to grow facial hair.
I don't like him already.
See, like jealous, like bitter.
He's tall.
But yeah, I don't know. He's tall, dark, and with like golden hazel eyes. I don't know. He's from Washington.
You would have never thought.
Yeah, I know. not at all. And I do know that, from what I've overheard, he was on his way, like after War Horses, he was on his way home to go break in another horse or like a young horse, and he was gonna like use some techniques that Patrick had taught him on this new horse. And I guess he'd been a horseman for a while, and he's like, I learned a bunch of new stuff.
There's Jay Reddy. Jay Reddy's totally gay for Man Dime Benji.
Oh my god, so gay for him. He's the most goddamn handsome man on the planet. He's not bad to look at.
He's a good looking fellow, but he's also very forthcoming and genuine.
Yeah.
And we'll take whatever time he can to talk to you about anything. He's just a good dude. Okay, you remember the wooden cowboy thing around the pool by the pool? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And how it had nails driven into its face to represent a beard.
No.
You don't remember the big, like, full-size wooden cowboy thing by the pool?
No.
I remember it because every time, like when it was kind of dark out, I thought it was somebody standing there.
That thing freaked me out a couple times because I thought it was a person, but because I was, you know how guys do weird, gross shit and they think nobody's looking, and you glance over there and you think it's a person.
Yeah. Shit, I got caught.
Yeah, like I totally got caught playing with my balls.
Damn it!
But then it's not a real person. My coffee's trying to come up. Anyways. So this life-size carved wooden figurine of a cowboy had nails driven into its face to represent like beard stubble, and that's exactly how Man Dime Benji's beard looked.
How did it go from Benji to Man Dime Benji?
Do I need to get Jay Reddy on the call to explain about man? All right, Jay Reddy, fire your Skype up. I'm gonna call you.
Probably because I missed that part.
Well, I'll just have to see if Jay Reddy comes up on the net here. I'll get Jay Reddy on to talk about Man Dime Benji. You guys just you missed a lot. I think you were more into the horses than you were into Man Dime Benji, but that's okay.
I was.
Yeah.
And then speaking of Man Dime Benji,
now.
And the room he was staying in, we kind of broke a window.
Well, no, Patrick broke the window.
Oh yeah, Patrick did.
Don't you put that on me? That was all Patrick.
Yeah, we did not break it.
Oh, it's hot in here. Shall I open the window? Yeah, go ahead. And then Pat says, "Well, don't push on it too hard because it's gonna." And then it broke. Right, and then because it didn't break the whole thing, he went ahead and pushed on it again and broke the rest of it.
Because reasons.
I feel like the donation that I made yesterday to War Horses for Veterans is going to pay for that fucking window. So we're even, Miss Pat, if you're listening. WTF Nation Radio broke your window, and I made a donation, and I hope we'll cover the cost of that window. Miss Pat said that Patrick's going to learn how to do glass.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I know how to do stained glass.
Well,
Does that count?
I'm talking about installing windows.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't know how to do that. Good luck, though.
Yeah, well, Patrick's going to learn because, he fucked up the window. I'm trying to get Jay Reddy on here to talk about Man Dime Benji.
Man Dime.
All right, Jay. Jay, you look good on that horse.
Thanks.
Yeah, I got video of that too. So Man Dime Benji. The ladies don't, or at least Minx doesn't understand about Man Dime Benji.
Okay, so you know how like in Ebonics terms back in the day they used to say, "Oh, that girl's a dime."
A 10.
Oh.
A 10.
Dime.
Nope.
piece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's a 10. Dime. So he's a man dime.
Oh, so he's a man 10?
Yeah, he's a man 10.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I told you Jay Reddy's kind of gay for this dude. What? I mean, I guess it's all right because he is a rather strikingly handsome fella.
I mean, no, it's not. No, I'm not like I want to eat his butt or nothing. But it's like he's just like the way he talks, the way he intently listens to what you're fucking saying, and he's handsome as
I think
shit.
he's in love.
He's like the nicest fucking dude ever.
He's very disarming.
Yeah, it's like, you handsome motherfucker, get away from me. You're a demon.
Yeah, but if you had to go out, right, and you needed a wingman, wouldn't you want Man Dime Benji with you?
No, he'd pick up every chick there ever was.
Well, but he can't have all the chicks. I mean, you know.
The fuck he can't.
Okay, the girls go out, and it's the chicks and their fat friend, and you end up with a fat friend, but at least you've scored.
Well, I don't want a fat friend next to Man Dime Benji. What would that look like walking around a lopsided fucking social experiment? This is horrible. but honestly, like, he was since he's like I don't know if he's pro rodeo rider or whatever, but he does. What is it called, Minx, when you lasso steer off the side of your horse?
Steer roping?
Is it? Yeah. I don't
I
fucking
can't
know.
remember.
That sounds good to me.
We'll go with that. Let's go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Well, he jolts out the chute on his horse and fucking jumps on a fucking steer on the side.
Well,
it's crazy.
He got Bobby, that's for sure. You guys want to see the Bobby video again? I'll put it back up. of Bobby getting lassoed.
He bit the dust.
So that's Man Dime Benji with the lime green War Horses for Vets hat on. He's the one that healed him, and Patrick is the one that got him around the waist. I think right about here, Bobby knew he was in trouble. And oh my God, look at he bounced from the shoulders, like from the chest up. He fucking bounced.
He had to take a second.
Yeah, he did. It took him a minute to get back up.
It builds character. He's okay.
Tarun got the good video. Man. Tarun got the good video, and when Jonathan Chia, when they get through with it, it's going to be hilarious. But they had to go back and do some editing and stuff. I'm sure Chia's going to do a good job with it. He and Tarun were out there.
I can't wait to see all their footage they got. They had that professional DSLR shit out there, man. It was nice, man, and everything they were doing. I cannot wait to see that Dropbox folder.
Yeah, they shot a lot of good footage out there. Tarun had the best shot. If he'd been a foot closer, Bobby would have fucking knocked that camera out of his hands. That's perfect professional positioning.
You're going to definitely see Bobby's lips kiss the ground.
That was the first time I'd ever met Bobby in person. Bobby's bigger than I thought he would be.
Yeah,
that's a lumberjack motherfucker, ain't it?
He's a big old boy, and
I mean, he's from
He's a
fucking
bear.
Oregon.
But he's a nice kid. I like Bobby. I always liked Bobby, but now that I've met him in person, I kind of feel a little affectionate for him.
Aww.
In his fake
Yeah, he's
boots.
no Jimothy.
He's no Jimothy. Definitely not a Jimothy. Johan's got a good idea. We should do a Dukes of Hazzard voiceover for that. You know what? If we could get Merle Haggard.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Wouldn't that be great?
Mm-hmm.
And freeze it. You know how they used to do it on Dukes of Hazzard?
Right?
Yeah.
And right about then is when Bobby realized he was in trouble.
Or we could get Morgan Freeman to do it.
Just got me
Yeah.
Even better.
Morgan Freeman.
Oh. Do your Morgan Freeman voice, boss.
Hold on, let me get
That's going to cost $10 million.
Yeah, not if I do it.
I can't do it.
Oh yeah, you can do it.
I just got to figure out what words to use.
And at that moment, when Bobby was in the half stride,
this was Bobby's.
He knew that he got man time.
This was Bobby's first time ever being lassoed. It was at that moment that Bobby realized he was fucked. Look at that! I could do that. I should totally do that. I'll write a script. I'll do my Morgan Freeman voiceover of Bobby fucking biting the dust.
That was like you close your eyes and you're like, Morgan Freeman.
Right. Look at Patrick Benson. He turned his back because he was ashamed of what he did to Bobby. Oh, here comes Garbage Dog and Mrs. Redleg. Where you guys going? Outside? How's it going? Glad you could join me. Put your collar on, Garbage Dog, so you don't run away. The fence is still down in the backyard.
We had talks.
Oh, no.
We had talks of Bobby jumping off the back of the boat and everything the next day, but it was entirely way too chilly.
Oh, it was cold as fuck out there on that lake, man.
Very, very cold.
That's why that's why I was wrapped up, all bundled up like a suicide bomber, because it was so cold out there. And I was trying to stay out of the sun because the fucking sun blistered. Well, it didn't blister me, but it burnt the shit out of me on Saturday. I didn't realize I'd gotten that much until the next morning. I looked in the mirror. I was like, "Oh my god,
I'm red."
yeah, I'm red."
Did you bring
looks like
sunblock?
Rudolph.
Did I bring sunblock? I did. Did we leave it in the hotel? Absolutely.
Duh.
You don't think about like preventative maintenance when you're about to have a badass day.
Well, no, it was really cloudy like when we left.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, oh, we don't really need it.
Yeah, but boy, did we need it. The wind was about half of what like fucked my skin up. It chafed me. Chapped. And then the sun
My ass got chapped off that horse.
The sun took care of the rest. Oh, Jesus Christ! Hey, listen, if you don't ride a horse on a regular basis, like your legs and your ass are not accustomed to it. I've been hobbling around all week. I'm finally about to get over it. My goddamn,
It's like leg day.
No, this is worse than leg day.
Yeah, your tenderloins are all funky.
Your tenderloins are yeah, man. It's rough. Jeez, I'd have to do it on a regular basis. I don't know how. I guess you get used to it, like anything else. But hey, Patrick, if you're listening, I'm looking for a job, bro.
Word to your mother.
Yeah, let's talk.
Right. I'll
Hey, I'm about to jump out of here. I'm about to go eat some delicacies.
Oh yeah.
So
is it gonna be
Haas
Freddy's
brought up
steak burger?
something.
Yeah, I do not have the slow-mo video of Jay Reddy and Pie racing, and Jay Reddy frantically trying to get his horse to stop.
Whoa.
but I won.
You did. And Pie did not want to accept defeat. Pie says that you didn't mean to go that fast. But I want Jay Reddy on this one. Jay Reddy crossed the finish line first. Now,
Jay Reddy was also on Rifle, and Pie was on Wildwind, who, is an old cranky man.
what the fuck? Why can I not get my video to come back up the way I want it to? My thing's broken. My remote's not working. I don't know what the fuck's going on here.
For the nation out there,
There it goes.
Wildwind is a Pinto, and Rifle was a fucking Ferrari, and I did not know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Rifle goes. And Wildwind's like, why are we running? That's the way those two horses
right?
work.
Why are we running right now?
Yeah.
No one likes to run. Don't make me run.
So that's why I got on Wildwind when it was time for me to go out in the arena and ride. I'm not stupid. Because if Rifle had taken off, I'd have done the same thing as Jay Reddy. Maybe not as dramatic, but I would have done the same thing as Jay Reddy.
Where Jay Reddy was giving mixed signals to Rifle, he was like pulling like super hard back on the reins, which is stop. But then at the same time, he was squeezing with his legs, which means go. So poor Rifle was like, I don't know what the fuck you want me to do. So he just went.
We have a question from Facebook Live. Patrick wants to know, do you have anything real to talk about? What would you like to talk about, Patrick? I mean,
there's nothing else besides to talk about except Warhorse. That was the best fucking time of my life.
Come to me with solutions, not problems, bro.
Oh, I mean, we can talk about that Savage Ice Agents.
Oh.
Or we could just continue talking about what we want to talk about, because
that's too, because we're on the air and you're not.
And
so.
I mean, we kind of just did go out and spend the weekend with an excellent nonprofit organization, and I feel like that it's our duty as a media entity to report on everything that we experienced. Patrick Reagan,
looking at you, bro.
But I do appreciate your feedback, Patrick. Thank you. You're a valued customer. What a dick.
Super valued.
You want to talk about tonight's guest? We are 10 minutes out from the break, and I feel like I need to probably talk about tonight's guest. Tonight's guest is retired Colonel Robert Maness. He's a retired Air Force colonel. He started out as an enlisted airman. A 17-year-old high school senior, he enlisted in the United States Air Force. He worked his way up to full colonel and retired from active duty in 2011. He served more than 32 years in the United States Air Force. After he retired, he returned to Louisiana, which is his home, to work in the utility industry as a director. He's currently the owner of Iron Liberty Group. He's chairman of Gator Pack and is involved in many other groups and projects. He's going to be on in 20-ish minutes, because we got 10 more minutes of this and then the break. He's going to be able to talk about the recent controversy over the removal of the Confederate monuments in New Orleans and what actions needed to keep the monuments from being removed. And I have a whole list of opinions on this, but I'm going to let Colonel Maness talk about it because my opinions are mine and everybody thinks I'm stupid. So we're gonna let somebody who's not stupid talk about it. Monday, I'll be back with my Monday show. Isaiah and Dusty from Peter the PTSD Awareness Penguin. These fucking guys. They're gonna be back to let us know what they've been up to since they last appeared on the show. If you guys have ever seen that, they do a lot of LOLs over there. But they like to bring people together, be able to talk however they want, free of judgment, with laughter, and to gain personally and express themselves as they see fit. So they'll be back on this show on Monday. On Tuesday, comedian Troy Giddings is going to be on. He's an Army veteran. He's a comedian, writer, and actor from Fayetteville, Arkansas. He's performed all over the country in pursuit of the meaning of life and a decent chili dog. After performing at Gilda's
chili dogs are important.
Chili dogs are important.
Yeah.
After performing at Gilda's Laugh Fest, he thought long and hard about chili dogs and doing haiku instead of comedy. Alas, he went on tour instead. After a grueling year with the Blunt Force Comedy Tour, Giddings is looking forward to trying a chili dog in your town. So that's going to be tied up Tuesday with Minks and Cuffs. On Jim Beam's show, What the Fuck Wednesday, Patrick Benson, CEO of War Horses for Veterans, the organization we've been talking about tonight. He's going to be on to do his recap of our weekend and to tell you more about what War Horses for Veterans has been doing and what they have coming up in the future. And then on Saturday, where'd Jay Reddy go? He pop smoked, didn't he?
Yeah.
On Saturday Night Savagery with Jay Reddy, Brian Monville is the Director of Program Service for American Veterans Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to providing public awareness in the plight of our nation's veterans. They dedicate in helping to prevent homelessness in the veteran community, provide emergency assistance to veterans in need, and provide comfort and, quote, we care packages to deployed troops. Always got good stuff coming up on the show, and I like listening to the variety of guests that we have that are all involved somehow in the veteran community, and whether they're currently serving, whether they are veterans themselves, or whether they're civilian supporters of the military, like Andy and Patricia Brown from War Horses for Veterans. Everybody that we have on the show has got something to offer you, our listening audience. And a little bit later in the show, starting in the third hour, the return of Jackbox games. It's been how long? Over a week?
2 weeks.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. It's been close to 2 weeks, I think, since we played any party games. I'll fire those up in the third hour of the show. Before we go on the break, I'd like to remind everybody to go check out one of our partners, Project Overwatch. They provide support for the law enforcement and firefighter first responder community by filling training gaps through veteran leadership and experience. They raise funds, and they go after sponsors to assist with equipment shortages within the law enforcement and firefighter communities. And they also establish hardship accounts for partnered law enforcement and firefighter departments. That thing's headed up by retired Master Sergeant Jamal LeBay, and he's this dude's a badass. He was with the 75th Ranger Regiment for a large portion of his career, and that's where he retired from. So go check him out. It's project-overwatch.org. So we are officially, thanks to our outstanding behind-the-scenes crew, officially partnered with Project Overwatch and War Horses for Veterans. So I'm going to go ahead and start the break a little earlier than I would. That way we have enough time for Colonel Maness to come on and do an entire segment with us instead of having to cut it short to get into the party game. So we'll take a break, and then we'll come back, and we'll have our guest on, and we'll get on with the show. Everybody stick around. Don't go anywhere. This is Friday Night Freedom on WTF Nation Radio. Damn thing. There it goes. Shit.
Fuck.
Hey, this is Eric Stolhansky, otherwise known as Rabbit from Super Troopers, and you're listening to WTF Nation Radio.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Hi, everybody. We're back with the second hour of Friday Night Freedom here on WTF Nation Radio. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Redleg, and she's my co-host, Minx. Oh, my goodness. And on the line, we have tonight's guest, retired Air Force Colonel Robert Maness. He's down in the Crescent City-ish area. And looks like he's got his hands in a lot of things. I heard you mention energy. That's who provides my electricity.
Entergy, yeah.
Entergy.
I'm a customer. I was their director of safety and technical training on the utility operations side. So we trained linemen and substation mechanics and relay techs and those kind of things for their entire system for a couple of years after I retired from the Air Force.
So you retired from the Air Force about 6 years ago, and you served for 32 years. That's a lifetime to be in the military.
Right?
Yeah. I went through MEPS right there in Memphis, Tennessee.
On Beale Street.
Yeah. That's where I got on a Braniff Airlines. That name sound familiar? Braniff Airline jet.
Oh, man.
To fly direct to San Antonio.
What?
Braniff. So you're currently the owner of Iron Liberty Group. What does Iron Liberty Group do?
That's my limited liability company. We provide leadership and safety consulting, and we branched out into digital media. I have a fairly significant presence on digital media and social media and Facebook and Twitter. This week, our reach is a little bit over 1.5 million on our Facebook page, and we've had quite a few good hits on the Twitter account this week. And we just branched out into Iron Liberty News radio show here on the AM station out of New Orleans. I broadcast from downtown New Orleans on Monday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time. Iron Liberty News, and what we do is we take 3 or 4 fake news stories at the local, state, and federal level that come out every week, and there's never any problem getting material. And we do a little truth analysis on them and take callers, and we have a lot of fun.
That's interesting. You take callers on. You can almost make a game show out of the fake news, because
right? Is this fake news?
It's amazing the number of people that get duped by this stuff. I mean, all you gotta do is have a snazzy website and write it a certain way, and people they bite.
Most of our material actually comes from the so-called mainstream media, the fake news media that's out there on CNN and MSNBC, and even some Fox News stuff and CBS, ABC, those kind of things. And it's pretty easy to tag their fake news stories and tear them apart and put the truth out.
No love lost between myself and the quote mainstream news media, because I better not go down that trail tonight.
Well, hey, man, I mean, a lot of us spend our lives, like you mentioned, I spent over 32 years serving in the military, our oaths to the Constitution of the United States. The media is a guardian of that freedom, from what I learned growing up and what I always thought, and they've let us down. So they inspired me to go into digital and social media and now radio after I run for office a couple of times.
You know, I think that the responsibility of the news media to simply report on the news in a fair and unbiased and truthful manner has all but completely evaporated. Now it's all revenue driven. You know, the more sensational your news is, the more listeners you draw, the more viewers you draw, and that turns into advertising revenue, and then it just snowballs, and then you get ridiculous. Everything is breaking news. Breaking news. Kim Kardashian's butt got bigger. Stuff like that.
Or Donald Trump stepped in front of the NATO leaders to get his picture made from the front instead of the back, like President Obama.
That's
that kind of crap.
Been tearing up the internet today. Everywhere I turn, it's that. Trump pushed it in front of what's the dude's name?
Oh, the head of the NATO.
Right. Who cares? Really?
That's Montenegro, I think it was, or something like that.
Who cares? Why is this important?
Yeah, what I care about is that he called them out and finally said, and I've been assigned to NATO many times, but he called the jerks out and said, look, you need to pay your 2.5% GDP or whatever it is. And if you look at who's not paying, Germany's the biggest criminal of all. They're the most wealthy country in the in the Europe area, and they pay almost the least amount of their GDP. They're not even in the middle.
Jeez.
So I think that's good.
Well, that he's finally, calling them out. It needed to be done. What's the point of being involved in an organization like NATO if everybody's not doing their fair share? And why is the responsibility of the United States to carry everybody in everything we're involved in? I mean, why us? I mean, I get that we're the greatest nation in the world, and I'm not ashamed to say that, but if everybody else wants to play ball, then they got to pay their dues.
That's right. And fortunately, when we do take a leadership role, instead of trying to lead from behind like the last president insisted on trying to do, which failed, absolutely. But when America does take a leadership role, we have less things that we have to get called or asked to do and those kind of things, and it's less expensive for us.
Yeah.
So, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with us not being the lead on everything, but we do have to practice leadership, and there's a difference between those two things.
And I think a good place to start is by being decisive and picking a course and taking that course and staying the course, as opposed to flip-flopping and appearing indecisive. At least with, like him, love him or hate him, at least with President Donald Trump, he is making a call on things, and he's sticking to his guns. It's more than I can say about our previous commander-in-chief, who appeared to not have any resolve or backbone when it pertained to matters of national security.
I think his goal was a reduced role for the United States of America in the foreign affairs across the board. And honestly, I think Obama successfully achieved that. Fortunately, it's not difficult to turn the perception of that around, but it is greatly difficult, as you know, to reinvigorate your armed forces after they've been used to fight in battles and wars and not been replenished and not been operationally ready from a resource perspective properly. And we all bear a responsibility for that. But President Trump is decisive. I may not agree with everything that he does. I haven't agreed with everything on this trip. But he's deciding, he's taking a course of action, and he's leading the others, regardless of how strong or weak he thinks the relationship may be, especially in the Middle East. He's leading those folks in those countries to accomplish the overall goal, which is to ultimately get to a peaceful and stable place on Earth, so people aren't dying every day for various different barbaric reasons.
And it's not as if you're speaking on this subject as somebody who hasn't been there, because, in case you're just tuning in, Colonel Maness served 32 years in the United States Air Force. And you said something during the break that I wanted to talk to you about. It's kind of a side note, because I'm a bit of a tech nerd. You said you said you flew the B-1, and that's like super interesting to me. That's a beautiful aircraft.
It's a wonderful machine.
What kind of experience is it to fly the Lancer? Because that thing's fast. It's designed to get in fast and low, and that's got to be exhiterating. I know I'm kind of taking a detour here, but I got to know.
That's okay. That's okay. I love talking about flying, especially in the Bone. I was fortunate enough to be a squadron commander in the Bone as a weapons systems officer, a backseater, which is very rare in the Air Force. Usually the commanders are pilot types. But I was a backseater, and I'll never forget my first time in the jet. We're getting ready to do a low altitude training sortie, and the aircraft has an automatic terrain following radar system, and one of my primary jobs was to operate that radar, and it's a synthetic aperture radar. It's really, for its time, really high tech and very accurate. And the aircraft is basically hooked up to that system while you're at altitude. And you're flying, you bring it up to 540 knots, and the wings sweep. So you sweep the wings back. It looks like a huge arrow. It's a 400,000-pound class airplane. So the thing's the size of a DC-10, believe it or not. And the autopilot's hooked up to that radar that I was operating. And I'll never forget the first time I did it. They have this function called auto letdown. And at 15,000 feet, we let down into mountains that were 6,000 feet high. The airplane flew itself all the way down there. It's got a special way of detecting the ground and automatically rounding out and leveling off at about 500 feet. And you're doing 540 nautical miles an hour, about 720 miles an hour over mountainous terrain. And if you want to know what type of terrain it is, go look at the mountain ranges down on the Texas border with Mexico, just southeast of El Paso, and that entire mountain range is where I was at when I was doing that. And my instructor looked at me and he caught me looking out the window while we were doing this procedure. And I'm supposed to be monitoring the radar to make sure the airplane's not flying us into the ground, which can happen in about 5 seconds. And I'm looking out the window, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm looking out the window. I've never done this before." And it's amazing to watch this American aircraft and know that you're operating the system. You don't have to do anything with it. And it's 1970s, late 70s technology at the time. It's been upgraded now, but at that time it was just late 70s technology. It was absolutely amazing to watch this aircraft do its business and get us to these targets it could go all the way down to 200 feet. And we've done that a couple of times where the airplane is flying automatically, completely hands off, doing nothing but flying off of a radar at 540 knots in mountainous terrain, and even at night. And it's just an incredible, exhilarating experience. And it was a lot of fun until you have to go into combat and people start shooting at you and those kind of things.
That's the same aircraft that they used recently to kind of flex our military muscle along the 38th parallel when Kim Jong-un started kicking up his heels and they flew a B-1. And was it a couple of F-22s, I believe?
Probably took a couple of F-22s with it because the B-1 uses low radar cross-section technology. It was the first combat aircraft to use that technology. A lot of people think it was the B-2 bomber, but really it was the B-1. But it's not up to the same standards that a B-2 or an F-22 is. So I'm sure they took that in, and I think it's great that it's used like that. That's what air power and ground power and sea power are all about, and that's what deterrence is all about. We need to reestablish deterrence on that wacko over there. And we need to reestablish nuclear deterrence on him because he's actually threatened us several times with nuclear missile launches. And we don't want it to come to having to go to war with those guys. We want to make sure that they get back in their box. But we're going to have to show some power to get there. And I'm glad they use the bones. And I'm glad we continue to make sure that they know we're going to respond to them if they ever launch on us.
Do you think that Kim Jong-un is certifiably insane? Is he deluded? Or is he just on a giant ego trip? It's kind of hard to get a read on this dude because he might be crazy, or he could be so far removed from the reality that is the rest of the world that he doesn't realize that. I mean, let's be honest. That country doesn't stand a chance in hell of fighting a protracted battle with the United States and its allies.
Well, they could hold out for a while, and cause a lot of deaths and a lot of environmental damage. The country's decimated anyway. If you ever looked at a night satellite photo of the peninsula, it's very obvious. You can see it. You can Google it. It's online. It's almost completely black at night. Above the 38th parallel, and south of it looks like anywhere in the United States or Europe. So good on the South Koreans for becoming a civilized nation and marching into the future. And hopefully the North Korean government will wake up someday and realize that they're being stupid to the point of killing themselves, and they'll decide to join the community of nations, and maybe they'll someday reunify. But until then, we've got to make sure that the nut job over there doesn't really have his finger on the button, and I don't think he does. I've always believed that the senior military folks and political folks, the older folks, control that environment, and then he does and says what he's told to do and say, and otherwise he's out there probably playing Xbox somewhere and watching movies.
It means he could be in any of our Grand Theft Auto games, and we wouldn't know it.
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
hopefully we're killing him.
My kids probably play their Xbox games with him, and we don't even know it.
If I ever catch that dude on the streets of Los Santos, it's over with. I'm gonna fly my what's that thing called? A Hydra.
It's a Hydra.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a AVAB, but I'm going to fly that thing over him, and I'm not going to shoot him. I'm going to land my plane on top of him and kill him.
I think I know what you're talking about. I'm a little older than you guys are, but I got kids that I still have a 12-year-old at home. He plays Xbox.
Look, I'm way too old to be playing Xbox. I'm 40 years old. I should not be playing video games, but I do.
You're not too old.
All right, fine.
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it used to keep. I liked playing video games when I was flying, especially because it kept your skills up. And all of my kids, my sons, I have 3 in the military, and all of them have done that extensively as a tool, and they all are very successful at what they do. So I think it's a good training tool.
So what you're saying is I could right now get in the cockpit of a B-1B Lancer and fly it.
Well, if you had somebody that could talk you through it, yeah.
Totally got to get me one of those.
Right now we got to find one.
So Colonel, you're kind of at the epicenter of what's starting to become a major controversy in the United States, and that is the removal of the Confederate monuments in New Orleans and in the area. And
in Virginia now.
What?
Virginia as well.
Yeah, Virginia too, and it's going on here in Memphis and has been for some time. And we spoke briefly off the air about this, and I am of the opinion that it is an attempt to erase history to appease a portion of the population who, whether real or perceived, feels like that these monuments are somehow signs of oppression, or it's hard for me to grasp. I don't understand how you can equate these monuments to this oppression, or I don't know, for lack of a better term, I guess oppression. What did they seem? They don't seem like the two things seem to be mutually exclusive. Like, we're talking about history, things that have happened in the past. Mm-hmm. How are people so intimidated by a monument? I don't understand it.
They're not. If you had before 2 years ago, or even 6 months ago, before Mitch Landrieu started, being the tyrant that he is and pulling these down in the way that he's doing it, if you'd asked any person, no matter what their skin color, or walking the streets of New Orleans every day, if they'd even thought about those statues when they were walking or driving by them, other than that, wow, it's great to live in this great city, and there's Lee Circle, or there's Beauregard's entrance to City Park, or there's Jeff Davis Highway. They'll tell you, and most, if they're honest, they'll tell you, I never even gave it a second thought. It's just part of our horizon. It's part of the culture and the makeup of New Orleans, and New Orleans is a wonderful city. It's the European city of America, in my opinion. If you haven't spent much time here other than partying's good. There's lots of that, but try to come down and spend some time where you're not just focused on that, and you'll realize that this really truly is. It's an old city. It's deeply rooted in European roots, and not just European roots, but also Caribbean, African, obviously Native American, and we have a unique place in American history and society that I think is being destroyed by these folks, and they're not trying to erase history. I used to say that. Now I've been involved in this for quite a bit and quite some time now. But they really are trying to rewrite history so that it's the way they want it to be. Because, Mitch Landrieu is a Democrat. The Democrats have been in charge of New Orleans since 1872. Think about that.
God damn.
Yeah.
They've been in charge of New Orleans since 1872. If you take a look at his speech that he did at the end of this last Friday, which, the Washington Post is just like slobbering all over him, a liberal guy down here, used to be chief of staff for John Breaux, I think, or Mary Landrieu or somebody when she was a senator, wrote an op-ed this weekend that'll get printed. I pay his paycheck, by the way. He's a professor at LSU, and all of the universities in Louisiana are government universities. Anyway, the guy gets printed. It goes, this is, quote, one for the ages, talking about his speech and everything. And the guy is just he's a slimy, tyrannical dictator, the way he has done this. And if you look at his speech, you will see that he wants to rewrite history to have the focus on white supremacism and racism and these symbols of oppression, and try to say that him taking them down is creating reconciliation and unity, even though many of these statues were actually erected as part of the reconciliation and reunification process, even though in those days there was white supremacy and racism. But there's very little of that around here. The statues, they mean different things to different people, and we're just trying to keep them as part of our cultural life, our art that's presented. And we don't think it's right in a United States of America that has a First Amendment in its Constitution that content could be censored like he's doing using government power, and that's what he's done.
That's absolutely what's happening, and that's I have not heard it described as censorship, and that this is protected under the First Amendment. I have not heard it described that way, and I guess I haven't stopped to think about it because I have kind of keyed in on the whole. And I realized right as you started to say it that he's not trying he's not trying to erase history. He's trying to rewrite history to, I guess, fit the agenda, whatever the agenda is, because I still haven't figured that out yet. But I only considered it as how can I put this? A group of people whining about something that they don't really possess an appreciable knowledge about. In other words, somebody told them that these statues are from the Civil War era, and they automatically equate the Civil War with slavery, just like with the Confederate flag, and the states that have the Confederate flag as part of their state flag. And, the big deal in South Carolina with removing the state flag from the Capitol grounds and so on and so forth.
Which is back, by the way.
Yeah,
it's back.
Oh, good.
But it's interesting that someone would twist this to fit their agenda and to kind of rile up a certain group of people and try to drag them into their weird, twisted way of thinking. And it almost sounds like grandstanding for the sake of drawing attention to himself for 15 minutes of fame. I mean, I don't understand the motivation.
Oh, he's already, even before, well, he's been talked about recently, very recently after his speech. They're talking about him being a potential contender for the presidential nomination, for the Democrat nomination for president of the United States in 2020. So take that one, put that in your peace pipe and smoke it for a little while and think about that, because, it's you're right. These guys, these men and women that are on the other side, they count on folks not really having been taught history well. They count on the fact that they won't get caught in their lies and hypocrisy. They count on having enough power to go ahead and do what they want, like a dictator or a tyrant would do in Venezuela or Cuba or Nicaragua or any of those places you've heard about that have had tyrants and dictators. And they have enough time to get away with it. And I think that's what Mitch is trying to do. And he is a tyrant. He's a dictator and a tyrant. He is, if you go back and read my two Opslins pieces that have been published, you will see in the first one that I testified on behalf of a piece of legislation that's designed to do what Tennessee's laws do, which is protect these monuments, these veterans' monuments. And we were smeared and slandered by legislators from the committee bench publicly, using all of their public voice and power as white supremacists, racists, supporters of rapists, supporters of killers of innocents. The men on these statues, in our particular case, we're talking about General Robert E. Lee and General P.G.T. Beauregard. The men on these statues in uniform were said that their entire military careers were dedicated to the killing of innocents and equated to the abortions that, because Louisiana is a very pro-life state, and even our Democrats are pro-life, most of them. So, they did that from the committee bench, and then when they took it to the House floor and the bill passed in the House, if you read my last article, it steps through every one of those. And what I just said to you was a quote. What I just said to you were quotes from Black Caucus legislators from the House floor of the House of Representatives in the state of Louisiana things like, we just celebrated Mother's Day, and don't y'all know, pointing fingers at us, people that asked for the bill and supported it and the legislators that are going to vote for it, don't y'all know that your ancestors pulled my ancestors out and raped them?
I am so sick of that, Colonel, because
Yeah.
Because what I do now and who I am has what to do with what happened, a century and a half ago, or even further back. How can I be held accountable for something that my ancestors, who I haven't traced my lineage back far enough to know if my ancestors were even in this country when it happened? It's easy. It fits their agenda, to point a finger at me and say your ancestors did so and so to my ancestors. You don't know those people, and I don't, and neither do I. So why are we spinning our wheels? We're going in circles. It's almost like, I mean, what's the end game, Colonel? What's the goal here?
Well, the end game is to chill free speech. Think about what back, I think it was 15 or 20 years ago. You remember the art museum in Chicago that displayed the crucifix in the jar of urine, or the commode with urine in it, and it was said by the Supreme Court that it had to do that. You can't censor that. Just because you disagree or are offended by speech, you can't censor it. Well, these people are trying to establish precedent that if something offends them, they can censor it. And that's what's happened. And you're right, it's not being talked about in those terms very much because most people miss that big picture. It took me a while to get there. And actually, I had to have a good discussion with a Democrat that lives in New Orleans that's a jazz musician that I happened to meet a week ago. And we've had a discussion over the past week, and we figured out that we need to write about this. So we're trying to get an op-ed published about this very subject. And that's what this is. They want to be able to use the power of their offices to censor those that they disagree with so that they can shape history in the minds of our citizens the way they want it to be. Because, as Republicans sit back and poke at Democrats all the time about, as I mentioned, the Democrats have been in charge of New Orleans since 1872. And Mitch Landrieu said that there is no monument or piece of public land set aside to memorialize the people that died in slavery, et cetera, in his speech. Well, they're in charge. They have been in charge for over 100 years. There's nothing stopping them from putting anything up. By the way, there is a plantation set aside 45 minutes from the mayor's office that he's actually been to and photographed there that is a memorial to people that have died in slavery as to show how despicable and what a stain it was and is on American history. So he lied in that speech.
Doesn't fit the agenda.
Right.
It doesn't fit their narrative. And can you imagine a man like me, and I was sitting next to a Vietnam infantryman that's wearing a CIB, Combat Infantryman's badge, a Distinguished Service Cross, silver stars, bronze stars, and a guy like me sitting there that's served since he was 17, combat veteran myself, and we are being told because we're asking for a bill to protect all veterans' monuments from all American wars, including the Civil War on both sides, because the U.S. government says that the other side should be treated as U.S. veterans in these kinds of matters. And we're told that we're racist and white supremacist and those kinds of things. Now, you think about it. Could I be a white supremacist and be a full colonel commander or a lieutenant colonel commander or a sergeant NCOIC in an American Armed Forces service today or for the last 30 years? Absolutely not.
No.
So it's just absolutely, it's unfounded. It's despicable. It's stunning. It's stunning that the phrases that I've said to you that were spoken on the House of Representatives floor on May 15th for 2 solid hours with reporters that have special seats in our legislature in those seats. It's stunning that they didn't report that in the way that it was supposed to be, that it should have been reported. It hasn't been reported at all.
Again, doesn't fit the narrative, doesn't fit the agenda. It's
right.
Easy, and it's becoming more and more commonplace. There was a time in this country where great strides were made in terms of race relations, and now, I mean, we hit a point, and now we're headed back downhill again. Is it because as a nation we don't have anything better to do? Is it time for a lot of civil unrest just because it's time? Is this a brainwashing by a certain organization or community? Are we just stupid? I mean, where did all this come from, and why are race relations in retrograde now? What's happening in this country? You would think at this point that we would have reached some sort of understanding, and how ridiculous it is for two people who are the only difference between these two people is the color of their skin to disagree and be at odds based simply on that. Why are we moving in reverse, race relations wise?
Well, we've had a president of the United States and an entire administration and political party that chose to drive the country down this path.
Oh my
and
God.
Those of us that are on the opposing side, what do they use against you? Well, you're a racist.
You pull the race
You're a
card
white
out.
supremacist.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And those of us on the opposing side have not stood up. I believe have not stood up and said, no, that's not logical. Let's have civil discussions about this, and let's come to an agreement on the things we can agree on, and let's find solutions to the challenges that you think are challenges and the challenges that I think are challenges. That's the American way. The American way is not this social justice warrior snowflake baloney that you see happening. Look, we had down here in New Orleans when they were taking the monuments down there, we had black folks carry. I advised them not to carry rebel flags because they all ought to have been carrying American flags, but they had rebel flags, and some of them were black folks that were there to protest the monuments being pulled down, and we had young white snowflakes out there that were the violent ones from Antifa. You've heard of those guys, right?
Oh, fuck those
the Antifa
guys.
movement. They had their flags and
dickweeds.
everything. One night, the police officers weren't doing anything. They weren't doing anything. And one night, 5 of these pro-monument folks had to be rescued from a mob of 200 of these snowflakes that were Antifa people, and they were spitting on them, throwing eggs at them, cussing at them, threatening them. The left side was, and the folks had to get escorted out. There were 2 arrests that night of people involved in violence, and there was minimal coverage of that in the media. Minimal coverage of it. That night, a U.S. military deuce and a half. You know what a deuce and a half is?
I sure
do.
do.
2.5 ton truck, which is a huge vehicle, was driven into the middle of the pro-monument crowd by these social justice warriors. And one of the people in the cab of that truck was a deputy mayor of New Orleans.
That's crazy. I mean, you know.
And the police didn't do anything.
I got to read these comments from the Facebook chat real quick. David says, I'm a Louisiana Guardsman. I live in Baton Rouge. I have 7 years of active duty under my belt. And I actually have plans to go hang out in New Orleans tomorrow. I just hope I don't kill my suspension on all those potholes they could have filled with monument removal money. There were several shootings this week in the lower 9th Ward. Maybe they could have outfitted the New Orleans Police Department better with the monument removal money. It's a gross misallocation of funds.
If I remember correctly, the night they removed the Davis Monument, there were 5 or 6 fatal shootings that night during that same period of time. And the day they removed Robert E. Lee, there's actually a story, I think it broke yesterday, that said the police had to delay going to arrest a violent crime perpetrator because they were covering the removal of the Robert E. Lee Monument. I mean, that's the kind of ridiculousness that these guys are getting away with because folks are afraid to stand up. You know, I mean, you can't get a lot of pro-monument protesters out there because people are carrying Confederate flags and nobody wants to get the stain of racism on them and those kind of things. So it's very difficult for folks to stand up for themselves, but we have to. I've fought for my country for over 30 years, and I encourage every veteran to stand up and at least say, look, these guys are veterans. You're not honoring them. I mean, we've got Memorial Day coming up where we honor all of our war dead. You know, these folks these statues that were just pulled down, every one of them was U.S. veteran. Every one of them were West Point graduates. Every one of them were combat veterans in the U.S. Armed Forces before their states left the United States of America, and they all served honorably in the other forces. So it's just ridiculous what's happening. And I found out yesterday the VFW and the Vietnam Veterans of America national organizations are coming to New Orleans for their national conventions, and I'm making calls to the national commander because I'm a life member of the VFW, and I've got a friend that's a life member of the VBA, and we're asking them to change their venue because this town does not support veterans, and they should not. Our veterans organization should not support this town until they change their minds.
That's unfortunate. That's a hell of a tag to have to wear as a city, to be known as a city that does not support veterans. They need to get their shit together in New Orleans before they alienate the entire veteran population.
Well, and this is not just a New Orleans issue. We've been talking about New Orleans, but there are 5 different cities in the state of New Orleans that are looking at taking their monuments to Confederate veterans and Confederate war dead down using the same methods that the progressives in New Orleans did. And Minx mentioned earlier, Richmond is talking about it. There's a poll online about the statue of General Jeb Stuart, or not Jeb Stuart, but Stonewall Jackson on Monument Row there in Richmond, being taken down. So I'd encourage everybody to go take that poll. It's a yes or no. Should we take the Confederate monuments down or not? And it's starting with Stonewall Jackson. And I would say not. Even the U.S. Army has 10 military installations named after Confederate soldiers and generals. And that was an act of reconciliation and reunification and will continue to stand. I believe they released a statement last week saying that it would be so. And that's what a lot of these statues and memorials were about, too. And what they're using to try to put the stain of slavery and white supremacism and racism on these statues and memorials is just an absolutely ludicrous idea. And I, for one, I'm not going to sit down and not stand up and fight back.
There were rumblings fairly recently of renaming Fort Bragg, home of the airborne, because it's named for a Confederate general.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Minx. I'm going to ask one more question, and I'll let you ask your questions. Does Confederate equal racist?
No, not necessarily. Most of those soldiers were poor people, and they couldn't afford to own slaves. So you had to be a wealthy person to be able to do that. And they were conscripted, and they did their duty for their country at the time. A lot of people call them traitors to the United States, but you got to remember, those states each legally seceded from the United States of America. They did it over slavery and other things caused by the slavery issue. But that's irrelevant to the veterans and the soldiers and sailors and Marines. That's irrelevant because their countries were their states in those days. And in those days, Americans thought of their states as their countries more than the federal government.
Right.
And like in Lee's case, for instance, he was offered command of the Union Army. He had been a superintendent of West Point. So Beauregard was the superintendent of West Point for a day before they fired him after his state seceded, without even asking him. They don't even know whether he would have stayed or not. But he left, and he became the commander of the forces that fired on Fort Sumter and fired the first shot. No, it doesn't mean racist. It doesn't even mean white supremacist for you to have been a Confederate veteran. It means that you were loyal to your country at the time, and you couldn't take up a sword. As Lee said, I can't take up a sword against my country and my family, meaning the state of Virginia. And that's just the way the times were. Slavery is a stain, and racism and white supremacy are a stain on American history. And I know it, and all of my brothers and sisters that I bore arms with in defense of this nation and our rights, we know it too. And it doesn't matter what color we are, and we know it. And it's time for the politicians and the ideologues to get off their butts and get up with the rest of us, and let's make this country what it should be, prosperous and free. And we should never have to have a discussion of a retired 30-something year colonel war veteran about things being censored in the United States of America?
Well, I was just gonna say it's the thought police. Like, it's George Orwell's 1984 is coming to life. And the first thing they do is they take away your ability to like have free speech or even free thought at this point. And and like I always learned that like the Civil War, it wasn't just about slavery, but it was about like the Southern states' rights and how they were feeling as though the rest of the Union was not taking them into consideration as far as like what they like needed or like required, and they weren't feeling like listened to or whatnot in regards to the rest of the like country at the time. But I think most people want to segregate the fact that these are, they're more than just Confederate soldiers, they're American soldiers and veterans. Mm-hmm. And like, why shouldn't we honor them? Obviously, they did great things in their time, either at West Point or like before the Civil War or, even during the Civil War. Like, they were great generals. You can't deny them that.
That's right. And there's a reason why none of them were ever tried for something like treason. Even Davis, who we kept in jail for 2 years after he was captured, was never tried for treason because his country, his state, seceded from the United States of America. You can't be treasonous against a country that you're no longer a citizen of. And when his state seceded, he became a citizen of his state and reverted back to that, then was no longer considered a citizen of the United States of America. So it's a very complex situation. The war itself and what caused it is complicated. Obviously, slavery is the absolute foundation of why the southern states that did seceded. If you go read the primary documents, which I have read all of them, all but one of them explicitly state that the institution of slavery was key to their secession. But it's surrounded by the issues that it created, which you talked about, Minx, which was states' rights, the ability to continue with something as a state based on the compact that they signed in the Constitution of the United States. And when that compact was being broken by the other states and the federal government, those states decided to do what they thought was legal at the time, because there's nothing in the Constitution about not being able to leave the compact and the Union. And that's on purpose, because the states that entered that compact knew that they said that they could leave at any time. And those states chose to do that for those reasons, and then these soldiers become part of the military of the Confederate States of America because that's their country and their families, and they're going to defend them, and the President of the United States at the time, his main goal, it's very explicit, and he stated it was to preserve the Union at all costs. And that's why he went to war.
Colonel, I found, I didn't find, Pip, one of our listeners and friends of the station, went out and found the poll that you were talking about.
Yep.
Thank you, Pip. I pinned the link in the Facebook Live chat, U.S. Army WTF Moments. So far, 118,498 votes cast. The question is, should Richmond remove its Confederate monuments? 61,668 people say no. 56,830 people say yes. It's very close, almost completely evenly split, with the majority going to no right now. This poll's only been up for 3 days, and it closes Monday. And for it to be this close, I think, is indicative of where everybody's head is right now. And I think it kind of paints a picture of where we are as a nation. We're evenly split down the middle on just about everything anymore. Mm-hmm. And I guess a lot of it has to do with who you associate with and which news channel you watch. Americans have lost the ability to think for themselves and draw their own conclusions based on knowledge and education and experience and research. I think that this is a product of social media and the piece of shit mainstream news media.
Well, they've, like I said, like they've become pretty much like the thought police out of 1984.
Yeah,
you know, if you have a difference of opinion or a different thought than the mainstream has, you're wrong, and no one values having differences of opinions anymore. And that's how we become a dystopian society, and how we become almost like socialist, which eventually leads to communist. And then what? Like, what's the end result? Like, you stop, because it's not going to just stop at Confederate veteran monuments. It's going to continue on and going. And so, like, at what point does it stop?
It's not going to stop. The group that was behind all this in New Orleans is called Take 'Em Down NOLA. You can find them on Facebook. They had a press conference, I believe it was yesterday. It was covered live. I watched the video. And we on the pro-monument side had been saying they were going to go after Andrew Jackson's statue down in front of St. Louis Cathedral in the French Quarter, which is the most iconic picture of New Orleans. Anytime ESPN News Games Day, the news, anybody shows a picture of New Orleans, they show that statue backdropped by the St. Louis Cathedral 9 times out of 10. So it's the most iconic statue in the state, and one of the most iconic in the nation. There's an identical one across from the White House. President Trump has a miniature on his desk on the credenza behind the Resolute desk in his office. I saw it in a picture the other day. And the signs they were holding at this press conference just yesterday at Take 'Em Down NOLA's press conference were, Andrew Jackson must go. Andrew Jackson must go. Now, he didn't fight in the Civil War. But I'll take you back to my article on OpsLens, and if your listeners haven't heard of OpsLens, it's a new digital publication. I'm a contributor for it, but they rely on national security experts, intelligence experts to write from an operational perspective on their articles and everything. And go back to my last article on OpsLens that says Louisiana continues to not honor its heroes out of fears of racism, and you will see a quote. Another quote from a legislator, one of the most respected black, conservative, pro-life legislators in the state. I really respect her. But she said, when asked a question by the author of the legislation to protect these statues, she said, if you supported slavery, you should not be honored. And the author asked her, so you're telling me any contact with the institution of slavery in your lifetime, and you shouldn't be honored with a statue or a monument? And she said, yes. And he said, even the father of our country? And she said, absolutely. Even the father of our country, if you have had any contact with the institution of slavery throughout American history, you should not have a statue honoring you, which means that they're going to go after George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, too. We have some of those in New Orleans, too. And that's just not a state issue. That's a national issue.
Like, so what are they going to do? Go after the Washington Monument, which is a huge DC tourist destination. You go there to look at the Washington Monument or the Jefferson Monument,
or the White House,
or the White House even, or Congress building. Fuck.
Yeah.
God damn it! Fucking people ruin everything.
I mean, this is America. And we can debate this stuff. I'm all for debating it, but don't try to shame me into giving in to your socialist ideology or your Marxism or whatever. And by the way, the group Take 'Em Down NOLA is led by a guy that's a neo-Marxist. He's declared that. It's pretty widely known, but nobody ever reports on it in the media. And it's backed by the George Soros money. We're able to find that out, as a bunch of the groups in New Orleans are, and it's just one of those things. Let's debate it. That's fine, but the direction of the country shouldn't depend on whether you think I'm a racist just because of the color of my skin and my ancestry.
Bingo. Very well said, Colonel. And I think that's a lot to do with it. Is people automatically they prejudge you, so they're prejudiced. There you go. There's your English lesson for the day, listeners. You prejudge somebody, you're prejudiced. You're prejudged based solely upon the color of your skin, your appearance, your demeanor, your mannerisms, so on and so forth. Nobody ever takes the time to sit down and speak with somebody. They're drinking the media's Kool-Aid, and because a monument is affiliated, however loosely, with the Civil War and the conclusions that these people have drawn about what the Civil War is about, and I'm glad Mink said it before I had an opportunity to. Civil War was mainly about states' rights and the government of the United States trying to limit or revoke certain rights that were held by the states. The Civil War was not exclusively about racism, period, or slavery. I mean, it was not completely about slavery. It was about the principle of states' rights.
Now, see, they tell you you're crazy. That's just a myth.
Yeah.
Well, but what the other side's going to do is they're going to weave into it. Well, but what were the states' rights that were the catalyst for all this? The right to own slaves. But
True.
But I mean, let's call this what it is. It was a disagreement of a collection of states with the federal government about what these individual states were or were not permitted to do. So they seceded from the Union. And like you said, Colonel, there's nothing in the United States Constitution that specifically forbids a state from removing itself from the Union. So
no, there's been discussions of actually there's a movement in California to secede from the.
Oh my God!
Union
Listen,
Donald
California
Trump was
can't
elected.
get rid of California fast
One can
enough.
only hope.
Well, I was kind of cheering for them, but I got relatives that live out there. I'd rather they stay in the United States. But but I was kind of cheering for the secession guys to see how far they would get before the big jack boots of the federal government came down on them. But it's kind of waned.
We're going to secede from the Union. How are you going to defend yourselves?
Well,
How are you going to afford anything?
They've got the California State Military Reserve. They're going to be all right.
Yeah.
Have you seen those guys? Let's not get on that. That's like a 2-year-old topic on the show. The California State Military Reserve. I mean, I guess they got their place, but so, Colonel, before I got about 3 minutes left before I got to go into the break, and I would like to give you an opportunity to tell our listening and viewing audience where they can find out more information about your publications. I know you have a website because I went and stalked you before the show.
Yeah, I've got robmaness.com, ROBMANESS.com is my main website. The blog page on that website is also subtitled Iron Liberty News. So when we do the radio show, the podcast goes up there. There's 4 of them already. We do the show once a week, so that goes on there. It's also linked to an Apple News channel called Iron Liberty News. You can go on Apple News if you have iOS 9 or above and sign up to track it there. We're trying to drive some membership to that. That's kind of a new piece of technology. You can find us on Facebook at COL. Rob Maness is the big page. It's got about 1.5 million viewers this week. And Iron Liberty has also got a Facebook page and Twitter accounts, and there are both Iron Liberty News. And then you can follow me personally on Twitter at my verified account at Rob Maness. That's ROBMANESS.
I'm going to have to go back and listen to the podcast of this show to get all that.
Yeah, and you can find the radio show at WGSO 990 AM live out of New Orleans. You can listen to it at WGSO.com, and it's on the TuneIn app under WGSO 990.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we too are on the TuneIn app. So, look, we got something common.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, Red Nation Rising Radio is carrying my show too every week. So.
Good. Well, I mean, it's about time that I don't know. We've only got a couple of minutes left. It's about time that news organizations let the other side weigh in on things, and for the other side, your side's story to be heard, instead of the usual shit that CNN's feeding us. I don't know. We just don't have.
I challenge you to go read that OpsLens story, opslens.com, that I just had published a few days ago. I challenge you to read those quotes and try to find them in any news media story anywhere other than a blog digital publication.
You're going to. Branko says it's because the South lost and now the North wants to rewrite history. Kinda, Branko.
These Democrats in New Orleans have been in power since 1872. They're Southerners.
Branko, you're kind of right, but not. I mean, well, I don't guess it's right or wrong here. I think your opinion is sort of kind of in the ballpark with me, but not really, because you tuned out for a while and you came back in at the tail end of this thing.
And I would also advise them to go back and read President Woodrow Wilson's speech on reunification and reconciliation when he made and insisted that Confederate veterans be treated the same as U.S. veterans in national cemeteries, which has resulted in Confederate veterans being buried even in Arlington National Cemetery and having all the rights, benefits, and eligibility thereof under public law. I mean, that was over 100 years ago, and Woodrow Wilson is a renowned socialist, progressive icon in the liberal world. So I would advise them to go back and really read history and find out what the facts were, instead of just relying on the progressive globalists out there that want to change what we think.
Doesn't fit the narrative, Colonel. That's kind of a recurring theme tonight.
It's unfortunate because we're Americans, and those of us that defend the nation die for it. And we don't die for globalists. We die for America.
That's right. Colonel, thank you for coming on the show. Colonel Robert Maness, everybody, retired Colonel Robert Maness. We're gonna keep tabs on you. I mean, in a good way, not like in a creepy Orwellian way. We're gonna
keep me honest. So
we're gonna take a break, everybody. When we come back, I'll fire up the party games. The Facebook Live video is gonna stop and then restart. If you want to participate in tonight's games, you got to be at U.S. Army WTF Moments Facebook page. We'll be right back everywhere. Everybody, don't go anywhere.
Looking up and fading out, Sarah's shapes I found blow me away. Van Allen right around, pushing through, skin is brown, nature has us trapped in fear, so I get lost in sound. I wonder if you'll ever know why I am the way I am. I've been thinking a lot about time and space surrounding. Is there anyone who is thinking like me? I've been thinking a lot about life
Good evening, boys and girls. This is Tim Kennedy. I'm a Special Forces sniper, a Ranger qualified Green Beret, a UFC fighter. Please listen to us and the shenanigans that we're going to say. We will insult you. There will be racial slurs. We will be sexist. We will offend you. But there will be magic, and a unicorn will be raped. So enjoy the show. Thank you for listening on WTF Nation Radio.
You're listening to Redleg on the voice of U.S. Army WTF Moments. WTF Nation Radio.
Can't feel my face when I'm talking to you.